Thank you for joining us today for our sixth in educational presentations of Keeping Buildings Warm and Dry. Edwards Sales Corporation has been around since 1954. We are in 60th year of educating. Today we are going to be talking about the series of training lectures and videos for people interested in keeping their buildings warm and dry in the future. Today we're going to be talking about Vulkem 116. This presentation is brought to you by me, Tom Stauber, who's been the President CEO of Edwards Sales Corporation since 1991. Today we're talking about Vulkem 116. It's a weatherproofing sealant. It's one part high performance elastomer. Vulkem is very distinctive in its tube. Vulkem 116 is a one-part moisture-curing gun-grade polyurethane. This is a commercial grade. It is not standard DIY product. It is a one-part moisture-curing gun-grade polyurethane. Vulkem 116 is durable, flexible, and offers excellent adhesion in moving joints. If you take a look at the Vulkem 116, it has a very, very grainy look to it, but it will stick to just about any surface. Vulkem 116 does not require a primer on most construction materials. However, do check beforehand to see if you need a primer. The basic uses for Vulkem 116 would be 116 urethane sealant for perimeter sealant and can't bead prior to coating. In other words, if you take a look at areas like this, you want to have a cant sealant so that water runs off and there's a place for it to go. Vulkem 116 is an excellent general purpose sealant designed for use in precast. You can see here there's some slop involved, but he's tooling it and he's making a cant bead all along here. So any water that starts down here will run to here and run across there. Additionally, from masonry substrates. Window applications. Every house has dozens and dozens of windows. However, if you take a look at window applications, they're very critical from a moisture, air, a water penetration standpoint. Window and frame perimeters and similar types of joint constructions. Ideal for Vulkem 116. This is really important. Vulkem 116 is suitable for continual immersion in water. Let's say that one more time. Vulkem 116 is suitable for continual immersion in water. What that means is if you have a slab joint or if you have an application where there's going to be water ponding anywhere, Vulkem 116, once it's adhered, once it's properly applied, it will be suitable for continual immersion in water. It will not release from the substrate. Vulkem 116 is designed for interior and exterior use. However, interior use is more subjective because it does have an odor. It's got a very strong odor to it, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But also exterior uses. It's also suitable for varied manufacturing uses, such as, well, if you're doing the production and repair of travel trailers and mobile homes, or anytime in the assembly of galvanized air conditioning ductwork. Are there limitations? Well, certainly there are. Do not apply Vulkem 116 or any sealant for that matter over damp or contaminated surfaces. You've seen these. Dry them out, clean them off, and then your sealant will work appropriately on them. And again, in interior applications, exterior it's not as critical because you've got natural flow of air. But on the interior applications, make sure that you have adequate ventilation. The packaging is as you'd expect. Standard caulking cartridges. We also have available sausages, quart cartridges, 2-gallon pails, 5-gallon pails, and 55-gallon drums. 55-gallon drums would be a lot of Vulkem 116. Colors that are available, you can see there's 18 or so colors. We used to have 7 architectural colors, but now we've expanded. So, you want to take the ones that are probably most recognizable. You would have aluminum, maybe bronze, maybe dark bronze, but you take a look at the difference there. There's not a huge deal of difference. Redwood tan, beige, and stone to some extent too. So that's typically what you'd be looking at stocking, and you can see that there's also sausages available for aluminum, black, dark bronze, gray, limestone, as well as aluminum stone. So sausages are not available in every color, and not everything is available in 55-gallon drums, but at the same time, just recognize that they are available in most caulk tubes. Applicable standards, again, being that this is a commercial grade product, we have to conform to certain federal specifications as well as American Standard testing specifications, which a lot of products that you have currently on your shelves will not have to conform to because they're just DIY products. These are very specific, and they're to be used in accordance with and required to be capable of doing X amount of things. Anyway, we've got a federal specification TTS and ASTM C920, which makes it a commercial grade product. For a minute, we'll stop and explore the joint design, joint dimension, surface preparation, and tooling and cleaning of joints. Again, the joint design, you may be used to, this Vulkem 116 may be used in vertical or horizontal joint in accordance with accepted architectural and engineering practices. Again, just use good common sense. The joint width should be 4 times anticipated movement, but not less than 1/4 inch wide. This gets a little bit confusing to some folks, but the bottom line is that what you don't want to do is you don't want to put too much sealant into a space that's going to move, because if you do that, take a look at taking and stretching a tire. A tire won't stretch very far, but if you take a rubber band, it will stretch a lot farther. Therefore, if you take and make a correct sealant bead, you're going to be able to stretch and bridge a joint much better than you would if you were to take a tire, the rubber that thick. Now, you may say, well, we want to sell as much caulking as we can, so have them pump as much as they can into a joint. Well, bottom line is that if you do that, they're going to have a failed joint, and that doesn't do you any good, and that doesn't do your contractor any good. Correct joint design is really important, and Vulkem 116 is not a low modulus product, which means it will move like a rubber band. It's more high modulus, which means it will have not a lot of movement, but a bunch of movement. It will move 25%. So keep that in mind when looking at how do you help your customer. Joint dimensions. Again, you take a look at, and this particular guy says, I'll caulk that after the battle's over. Well, the reality is we don't want him to caulk that because that's a huge joint well. and you couldn't do it anyway. But the point being that too big a joint is not a joint that's designed for sealant. Joint dimension is for joints 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch wide. The width to depth ratio should be equal. In other words, joints 1/2 inch wide or greater should have a sealant depth of 1.5 inch. Minimum joint size should be 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. So if you've got a joint that's smaller than that, well, this particular sealant's not all that good for that. There's other things to do, but if it's 1/4 inch, now that's not a very big joint. If you take a look at a 1/4 inch on your tape measure, you see it's not very, very big. It can be adjusted. But the surface preparation is really critical. Now you're looking at a joint right here that's probably 1/4 inch. Okay? But the surface preparation is critical. For good adhesion, the joint surface must be sound, clean, and dry. I'm going to repeat that again because that question will come up again. This substrate needs to be sound, meaning there's not a whole bunch of stuff that flakes off of it. It needs to be clean. There can't be all kinds of stuff all over it. And it needs to be dry. That's just really important for all caulking surfaces. Depending on the substrates and the presence of foam release agents, masonry waterproofing, dust, loose mortar, or latex, architectural paints or finishes, the joint surface may require a wire brushing, sandblasting, solvent, or primer. For the most part, Vulkem 116 is totally primerless. There's a couple of metals that you may want to use as adhesion enhancers, but for the most part, Vulkem 116 is primerless. But again, getting into all this other stuff is pretty intense, and you don't, for the most part, need to there. Tooling and cleaning. Tooling is recommended immediately after application to ensure firm, intimate contact with the joint interface. Dry tooling is preferred, although tooling agents like spit can be utilized. And I'm not kidding about that necessarily. I mean, if you were to be doing a joint like this, you simply would spit on your finger to keep the stuff from sticking to your finger, and you can tool that joint, pushing the sealant on both substrates, both the siding and to the window mullion, which you're showing here, and keeps your hands relatively clean and makes for a good caulking joint. But dry tooling would be better. I mean, if you could do that without doing that or using mineral spirits, that's great. Excess sealant and smears can be removed with xylol or toluol before the sealant cures. Again, these are very hot compounds, hot being high VOC, volatile organic compounds mixed in, and they're not great for your skin, they're not great for a lot of things, but they will clean things off, and that can be used before the sealant cures. If you wait till after the sealant cures, there's nothing you can do to clean it off except scrape it and cut it off. So, where are places to recommend Vulkem sealants? Well, anywhere that the customer needs a sealant that will work. In and out of swimming pools. Every window needs to have serious sealants. Again, looking at the swimming pools, you've got water, and Vulkem 116 is suitable for continual immersion in water, so it's a great application below. It's a great application above where you've got ponding on the decking, but around every window makes an awful lot of sense. How about driveways where you've got control joints and you take a look at how they're splitting apart? Now, if you got a lot of movement, you got to recognize that, again, you're talking about a high modulus sealant, the 116, which will not move more than 25%. So if that's the wrong caulking, then there are other products that can go in there, but it will adhere very well to the concrete substrate. Siding, siding doesn't move all that much. It does move, but it's not going to move as much as a joint on a sidewalk or a patio skirt. So 116 is used a lot in that application. What about leaky rain gutters? Again, keeping in mind that you have to have a dry substrate, but once it's dried out, you go ahead and you put the Vulkem 116 in there. It's going to be in a wet environment suitable for continual immersion. Vulkem 116 was developed by Dr. Richard Green, Master Mechanics, Mamico. We used to call him Doc Green. Doc Green, in 1968, Edwards Sales became a master distributor for Mamico and went on to become the largest single location distributor of Vulkem 116 product. And because of the Edwards Sales presence in the residential construction market in the upper Midwest, Vulkem 116, which again is a commercial product, was introduced into the residential market in 1988, starting with Scherer Brothers. And today, Vulkem 116 is the sealant that the pros reach for when they need a caulking product that will really work. There's a lot of caulking products out there, and a lot of them have a lot of different applications on them. And you can take a look at, walk down the aisles of your store, and you'll see, okay, this one's for roofing, this one's for ventilation, this one's for acrylic, this one is for bathroom. All of them have their basic needs. But if the builder needs a product that's going to seal a joint and it's going to stick really well to almost all substrates, the Vulkem 116 is the product to look to. Vulkem 116, again, is a one-part moisture-curing gun-grade polyurethane. And I'm saying this because you're going to be tested on this. Vulkem 116 is a one-part moisture-curing gun-grade polyurethane. 116 is an architectural commercial sealant that is used residentially by contractors that want quality. 116 is the best solution for many difficult applications builders have. 116 is sticky and will be messy because of its strength and bonding capabilities. Make no mistake about it. 116 is a very sticky product because it adheres to everything, but it's not a lot of fun to work with in terms of cleaning up. A lot of products that you sell today, and I'm not going to name them, but they're pretty simple to clean up after because they don't stick. 116 will cost a builder significantly more upfront than if they buy an economy sealant. And what I mean by that is that 116 is not a $1 a tube caulking. That's not what it costs. It costs a lot more than that. But so you build a $250,000 house, and how much caulking goes into that house? And so what is the relative cost? Well, you buy a case of caulking for $100 as opposed to buying a case of caulking for $50. You save $50 by buying another caulking product, but it doesn't work, and you get called back. Well, your guy's time is now at $25 an hour, so 1 hour, 2 hours, you haven't saved a darn thing. Builders and DIYers rarely want to come back and do that same job twice. If they've done it already, they don't want to come back and do it again. So they're looking to you for products that are going to allow them not to be back. With 116, there can be a bad application and there can be a bad installer, but regardless, with 116, your chances of a successful result are greatly enhanced because the sealant is so quality, so high quality, and that's why it is a commercial architectural product, because it is so good that they use that in all commercial buildings, but yet residentially, because of the cost, initial cost, people are hesitant. Vulkem 116 is the Minnesota Quality Builders Choice Award winner 20 years in a row. So for the quality builders in Minnesota, for the last 20 years, Vulkem 116 has been the choice and the award winner. And here's a representative comment. In all my years in the building industry, I will say there is no other product that is better than the Vulkem 116 for what it does.